So every so often I get a filofax. I buy a filofax, and I'm buying the filofax for the actual binder, not necessarily the paper or the inserts within. But I regularly buy binders with inserts and blank paper, and typically, particularly if I get a diary, it's going to be out of date. It's going to be from for instance, this one is from 2011, and I've got a thing about paper. I mean, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But I have a thing about not wasting paper and reusing it if I can. So you've got here a whole stack of paper. There are some, maybe some more. I don't know. Are there any more? Yes. So we've got some name and address inserts and some notes, and I think these ones are from Paper Chase. We got some nice graph paper as well. So there is paper here. Now, I'm not going to bang on about environmental issues, but there are some issues about paper that perhaps we all need to think about. For instance, there's the whole issue of deforestation and the use of energy, and as I understand it, there's a huge amount of water that gets used up, a huge amount of fresh water that is used in the production of paper, and then there's the air pollution and the sheer amount of waste that ends up in landfill. That is a quarter of it is paper, apparently. I didn't know that, but whatever the situation is, all these issues are issues that are important, or should be important, as we reach the point of irreversible climate change. Some people don't think that's the case. I personally do, but whatever people's beliefs, the last thing we want to do is create unnecessary waste. So, what do I do with all this paper? I like to reuse it, and in a forthcoming video, I'm going to, I think probably maybe in my next video or the video after that, certainly within a short while, I'm going to do a big reveal about how I reuse this paper in terms of what I call my insanely functional filofax organizer, but that's for another day. That's quite a long one, so I want it to be really in depth. But essentially, as far as possible, I reuse my paper. Now, I'll give you an example of what I do. In this particular case, let's just say I'm reusing this paper. So I would sort of find myself scrubbing out the. Am I still on the screen? Yes, I am. I would scrub everything out that is not appropriate anymore, and then I have my piece of paper. But it looks I don't know. It looks a little bit untidy. So, some time ago, I had an epiphany about this, and so what I do is, instead of scrubbing everything out like that, what I do is I take a page. If I can do it, and this is what I do. I turn it upside down, and each piece of paper varies according to the printing style, but if you look here, I've suddenly got a huge amount of real estate. I don't have to sully the paper with using extra ink unnecessarily that cross out the bits at the bottom. It's the fact that it's upside down denotes and is registering on my mind, because this is for me, not for anybody else, I guess, that anything upside down is not appropriate anymore. It's not relevant. So I don't have to. I completely eliminate the scribble, the process of crossing out the things that aren't appropriate, and it in my mind, because I like to write in typically. I mean, I do like my fountain pens as well, but that's a completely different story. But certainly, from the practicalities of day-to-day organisation, I use a Pilot G2. That is my weapon of choice, and I like to do one in blue. I read somewhere that Microsoft chose blue because it was the easiest colour on the eye, and that's why Microsoft used blue more than anything else. So I'm inclined to believe that, actually. I quite like blue. I had a rebellious streak at school when I was about 11, where I bought this bottle of green ink from a fellow student in the playgrounds. I don't think money changed hands. I think I swapped it for a couple of Mars bars or something. I think I got a good deal. And I went through a period where I wrote in green. We all had fountain pens in those days. And bizarrely, when you look back, sloping desks with inkwells embedded into the top of the top of at the back of the desk, with a sliding brass slider that covered the ink. Extraordinary. They're probably probably from Victorian times, but those were our desks. Amazing. But I went through a period. I mean, I know I'm digressing here, but my apologies. I got into a lot of trouble because it was my. I was told you can't use green ink. Well, but I persevered with this ink that probably lasted about a year and a half before I think it was a bottle of Quink, which was made by Parker pens. Anyway, so it was an act of defiance by a 10 or 11-year-old school kid. But in adult life, I have towed the line, as it were, and I on official documents it's black in the UK. You have to use black, ostensibly anyway. But I prefer blue for my day-to-day organisation. And so if just getting back to the subject, if I was scrubbing out, so if I did this, if I scrubbed this, which is now totally unnecessary because I've turned it upside down anyway. But if I did that, it would make it look extra messy. There's something very clean, I think, about having a page that's just simply upside down, and then you can write the title. Let's say, let me just put, for instance, Wednesday. Okay, so in that right-hand corner, and then everything I write on here is Wednesday, and my brain automatically dismisses the black ink because it's black, not blue, and it also reinforces in my mind, I suspect, that this is not to be, any writing that's upside down is irrelevant. So I find it is, I wouldn't say it's like an epiphany, but it kind of dawned on me a little while ago that the sensible thing in for using all this paper is to just turn it upside down. And as you can see from this example, these are made by Paper Chase, I think, these particular inserts. So you've got if you turn it upside down, quite often you have nothing at the top, nothing, and so it gives you an opportunity to start the page again. And why is this important? Well, those 5 key things are, things we should think about: deforestation and the use of energy and water and air pollution and also all that waste. So what else do I do to save paper? Well, if you'll excuse me a second, because I'm just going to cough again. I don't cough too much, but we're it's under control. It's under control. So let me show you these. I look at this. So one of them is my A4, and one of them is my Guildford Mini Extra Slim. There's a huge difference here. Now, why am I showing you these? Because I used to use this quite a lot when I was in business before I retired. It was my main working tool, and sometimes I do use this, but it's just a ridiculous size, and I've kind of migrated from this size to this is now my everyday carry. But the thing is, there is paper that goes in here that I can use and then cut down and put in here. So occasionally I will find paper that every piece of paper that I've finished with, I don't just scrunch it up and put it in the box for shredding. I put it in a box, just a cardboard box, marked spare paper, and then I use that paper I take a piece out to do some doodles or some scribbling or a bit of maths, or crucially for me as a filofax user, if there's an opportunity to make let's see, so a piece of paper that I can make to fit a personal size filofax, then, and I can cut that out of the bottom half of a used A4 filofax sheet, then I'm going to do it. And then conversely, I can potentially, if I use this and then I finish with it and it ends up in the paper box, then I can cut a piece of paper that goes into here. This is one of my ideas filofaxes. Whoops. And then this one is my everyday carry. So it's effectively an inbox. It has a little bit of data in here, some reference material like phone numbers, for instance, which are very, very useful if you lose your phone or your phone goes wrong. You can go to a payphone. We still have payphones in the UK here and there. So this is a godsend, but mainly I use, and I have a 5-day diary in here, just in case my phone goes wrong, and it is really, having a 5-day diary in here is really, really handy. So 5 pages generally, but all this paper is recycled, either recycled by me or recycled by someone else, and then occasionally I even have sheets here where it's junk mail. I have no control over junk mail other than the fact I avoid ticking the box that says, yes, please send me lots of junk mail. Whether it's a positive box or a negative tick box, I try and make sure that I receive as little junk mail through the post as possible. But unbeknown to the suppliers of junk mail, if I do get unsolicited mail, that gets reused in my filofax, which if they knew about it, hopefully they would be pleased with my environmental credentials in that way. But there we go. I could bang on about paper forever in terms of the statistics and the environmental impact, but that's for someone else to deal with on an environmental channel. But I think it's really important for all of us to consider this. And okay, it's not for everyone, but I'm not precious about. I see filofax as a functional working tool, as you know. That is my phrase of choice, isn't it? It's a working tool, and it is. And so I don't really care whether or not there is some element of reuse here. So that's all I've got to say. A bit of a long-winded way of using up several minutes to say recycle your paper as far as possible. That is the message. Anyway, thank you very much. Let me try that again. I nearly said let me start again, but I'm not going to do that. I'm in too deep. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.